Once upon a time, in the ancient land of Canaan, there lived a man named Eliah. He was known far and wide for his deceitful ways and cunning schemes. Eliah was the first of the 5 worst people in the Bible. His name whispered in fear and disdain by all who knew of his treachery. Eliab's heart was filled with envy and bitterness towards his younger brother, David. David was beloved by many for his bravery and righteousness, while Eliab harbored nothing but jealousy. Consumed by his jealousy, Eliab plotted against David, seeking to undermine him at every turn. One day, as David stood before the mighty Philistine giant, Goliath, Eliab saw his opportunity to strike. Pretending to offer words of encouragement, Eliab whispered poison into David's ear, telling him he was not strong enough to defeat the giant. But David, undeterred by his brother's deceit, stood tall and faced Goliath with unwavering faith, ultimately triumphing over the mighty foe. Despite his failed attempts to thwart David, Eliab's thirst for power and vengeance only grew stronger. He conspired with corrupt officials and deceived many, amassing wealth and influence through his deceitful schemes. But his greed knew no bounds, and soon Eliab found himself entangled in a web of lies from which there was no escape. The second worst person in the Bible was Jezebel, a wicked queen whose name became synonymous with cruelty and tyranny. Jezebel ruled over the kingdom of Israel with an iron fist, using manipulation and deceit to maintain her grip on power. She worshipped false gods and led her people astray, leading them down a path of destruction and despair. Jezebel's reign of terror was marked by bloodshed and corruption, as she orchestrated the deaths of countless innocent lives to further her own selfish ambitions. She stopped at nothing to silence her critics and eliminate anyone who dared to oppose her rule. But Jezebel's wickedness did not go unpunished, for her downfall came swiftly and mercilessly. In the end, she met a gruesome end, thrown from a window by her own servants and left to be devoured by wild dogs. The third worst person in the Bible was Judas Iscariot, a disciple of Jesus who betrayed his master for 30 pieces of silver. Judas's name would forever be associated with betrayal and deceit, his actions casting a dark shadow over the life of Christ. Driven by greed and envy, Judas conspired with the religious leaders of the time to betray Jesus into their hands. He led them to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he kissed Jesus on the cheek, signaling to the soldiers that he was the one they sought. The betrayal of Judas would ultimately lead to the crucifixion of Jesus, fulfilling the prophecy, but sealing Judas's fate as one of the most despised figures in history. Consumed by guilt and remorse, Judas took his own life, unable to bear the weight of his treachery. The fourth worst person in the Bible was King Ahab, a weak and cowardly ruler who allowed himself to be manipulated by his wicked wife, Jezebel. Ahab's reign was marked by idolatry and oppression, as he led his people away from the true path and into darkness. Under Ahab's rule, the kingdom of Israel descended into chaos and despair, plagued by famine and unrest. Ahab's refusal to heed the warnings of the prophets only hastened the kingdom's downfall, as God's wrath was unleashed upon the land. In the end, Ahab met a violent end on the battlefield, struck down by an arrow in accordance with the prophecy of the prophet Elijah. His death marked the end of an era of wickedness and corruption, but his legacy would live on as a cautionary tale of the dangers of turning away from God. But the worst of all the people in the Bible was none other than Lucifer himself, the fallen angel who rebelled against God and was cast out of heaven. Lucifer's pride and arrogance led him to challenge the authority of God, seeking to exalt himself above all others. In his rebellion, Lucifer led a third of the angels in heaven astray, waging war against God and his faithful servants. But his rebellion was crushed, and he was cast down to earth, where he would spend eternity as the Prince of Darkness, forever tempting humanity towards sin and destruction. Lucifer's name would become synonymous with evil and temptation, his influence spreading like a cancer throughout the world. But no matter how hard he tried, Lucifer could never truly defeat God, for his power was finite and fleeting compared to the eternal glory of the Almighty. And so, The story of the 5 worst people in the Bible serves as a warning to all who would stray from the path of righteousness, for their deeds may lead them down a dark and treacherous road from which there is no return. As the tale unfolds, we find ourselves amidst the turmoil of ancient times, where the repercussions of these 5 notorious figures continue to echo through the annals of history. Eliah, consumed by his jealousy and thirst for power, descended further into darkness. His schemes and deceit continued to sow discord among his family and community, leading to a legacy of bitterness and regret. Despite his attempts to outmaneuver his younger brother David, he found himself isolated and despised by all who knew him. In the end, Eliab's life ended in obscurity, his name forgotten by all but those who whispered it in fear and disdain. Jezebel, the wicked queen, left behind a legacy of destruction and despair. Though her reign of terror was brought to an end, her influence lingered like a foul stench, poisoning the hearts and minds of future generations. Her name became synonymous with cruelty and tyranny, a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked ambition and moral corruption. Judas Iscariot, the betrayer of Christ, became a pariah among his peers. His name was cursed by believers and non-believers alike, his actions forever staining the pages of history. Though his betrayal led to the crucifixion of Jesus, it also sparked a movement that would change the course of humanity forever. Judas's ultimate fate served as a stark reminder of the consequences of betraying one's principles for a fleeting worldly gain. King Ahab, the weak and cowardly ruler, left behind a kingdom in ruins. His legacy of idolatry and oppression was a stain on the annals of Israel's history, a reminder of the dangers of succumbing to the temptations of power and pride. Though his death marked the end of his reign, the repercussions of his actions continued to reverberate through the ages, serving as a warning to future leaders who would dare to follow in his footsteps. And then there was Lucifer, the fallen angel, whose rebellion against God had far-reaching consequences. Cast out of heaven and condemned to rule over the underworld, Lucifer's thirst for vengeance knew no bounds. He prowled the earth like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, his influence seeping into every corner of creation. But amidst the darkness, there remained a glimmer of hope, for even in the face of such evil, there were those who stood firm in their faith and righteousness, shining like beacons of light in a world consumed by shadow. Theirs was a legacy of courage and perseverance, a testament to the enduring power of goodness and grace. And so, the story of the 5 worst people in the Bible serves as a reminder of the eternal struggle between light and darkness, good and evil. It is a tale of redemption and salvation, of triumph over adversity, and the enduring power of faith. And though their names may live on in infamy, it is ultimately the choices we make in life that define our legacy for eternity. As time marched forward, the echoes of these 5 notorious figures continued to reverberate through the corridors of history, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of generations to come. Despite the darkness they unleashed upon the world, there emerged stories of courage, compassion, and redemption. The legacy of David, the shepherd boy who became king, inspired countless souls to rise above their circumstances and embrace their destinies with faith and courage. His psalms echoed through the ages, offering solace and strength to the weary and downtrodden. The prophets who dared to speak truth to power, despite the risks they faced, became beacons of hope on a world shrouded in darkness. Their words, preserved in sacred texts, continue to challenge and inspire those who sought to walk in the ways of righteousness. And then there was Jesus Christ, the Son of God, whose life, death, and resurrection shattered the chains of sin and death, offering salvation to all who would believe. His teachings of love, forgiveness, and redemption transformed hearts and minds, offering a path to reconciliation with the divine. In the end, the story of the 5 worst people in the Bible serves as a testament to the enduring power of choice. For in every age, in every corner of the world, humanity is faced with the same fundamental question: will we choose the path of righteousness, or will we succumb to the temptations of pride, greed, and selfishness? The answer lies not in the deeds of the past, but in the choices we make today and every day thereafter. For in the end, it is not the darkness that defines us, but the light that we choose to embrace. And so, let us heed the lessons of history, drawing inspiration from the heroes of faith who have gone before us. Let us strive to walk in their footsteps, shining brightly in a world that so desperately needs the light of hope and love. For in the end, it is the choices we make that shape our destiny, and it is in the embrace of truth and goodness that we find true fulfillment and peace.